3 times in one night. The rancher's deeds left her yearning to be his wife. Clara had never imagined that a single summer could change her life so completely. She had always lived in the city, surrounded by tall buildings, crowded streets, and the constant hum of traffic. But this year, her mother had insisted she spend the summer with her cousin Lily, who lived on a ranch several hours outside the city. At first, Clara had been hesitant. The idea of endless fields, animals, and rustic life seemed foreign and, honestly, a little boring. She wasn't sure she could survive without the internet, coffee shops, or her friends just a few blocks away. Still, her mother had been insistent. "It will do you good," she said. "You need to experience life outside your comfort zone, and you might meet people who will teach you things city life never could." Clara rolled her eyes, but deep down, a small part of her was curious. Maybe a change of scenery could be refreshing. When Clara finally arrived at the ranch, she was struck by its sheer size. Rolling green fields stretched as far as she could see, dotted with tall trees and grazing cattle. The air smelled different, fresh, earthy, and crisp. It was a far cry from the smoggy streets she was used to, and the silence, punctuated only by the occasional moo or chirp, felt almost magical. Her cousin Lily greeted her with a warm hug, laughter in her eyes. "You're finally here. Wait until you meet Logan. Well, you'll see." Clara had heard about Logan before. Every mention of him was wrapped in a mixture of respect and fascination. He was the owner of the ranch, a man in his early 30s, known for being hardworking, disciplined, and, according to Lily, intimidatingly attractive. Clara had brushed off the descriptions, thinking they were exaggerated, but curiosity bubbled inside her. Who was this man who seemed to command respect from everyone without even trying? The first time Clara saw Logan, she understood why everyone talked about him. He was tall, with broad shoulders and strong arms that spoke of years of hard work. His face was rugged but not harsh, with piercing eyes that seemed to notice everything around him. He moved with quiet confidence, every step deliberate, almost like he belonged entirely to this land. Clara felt a strange flutter in her chest, a mix of nervousness and excitement. She quickly reminded herself that she had to be polite and composed. She wasn't sure she was ready for anything more complicated than that. Their first real interaction came sooner than she expected. Clara had gone to the stables to feed the horses under Lily's supervision. She had grown up around pets, but horses were different. Large, strong, and unpredictable. She was brushing one of the younger horses, a spirited chestnut named Daisy, when she lost her grip and Daisy bolted toward the open field. Clara panicked. She ran after the horse, calling its name, but it was fast, and she couldn't keep up. That was when Logan appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. He was calm, commanding, and unshakable. With a few quick steps, he caught Daisy by the reins, his grip firm but gentle. Clara caught her breath, overwhelmed by relief and admiration. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaky. Logan glanced at her briefly, giving a small nod. "You need to keep a firmer hold. Horses are sensitive. They feel your fear." His tone was neither harsh nor condescending. It was matter-of-fact, like he was teaching her something important. Clara nodded, trying to absorb the advice while secretly studying him. There was something about the way he spoke, the way he moved. It was as if the land itself responded to him. Over the next few days, Clara tried to settle into life on the ranch. She learned how to feed the animals properly, mend fences, and even ride horses. Logan was often around, overseeing the work or checking on the livestock. Whenever their paths crossed, Clara felt a mix of excitement and nervousness she couldn't explain. He didn't flirt. He didn't tease. He simply existed, confident and strong, and somehow that drew her in more than any words could. One afternoon, as the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Clara was helping Lily gather eggs from the chicken coop. The golden light made the entire ranch glow, casting long shadows and bathing everything in warmth. She felt peaceful, almost like she belonged here, even though it was all so new to her. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her. "Be careful with that basket." Clara turned to see Logan leaning against the wooden fence, watching her with a faint smile. "I can handle it," she replied, though her voice was steadier than she felt. "I'm sure you can," he said, walking closer. "But sometimes the simplest tasks can become accidents if you rush. Patience is key." Clara nodded, trying not to stare too long at him. She was aware of every detail: the way his shirt fit over his broad chest, the gentle but firm way he moved, even the calm authority in his voice. It was all mesmerizing, though she tried hard to act nonchalant. As the days passed, Clara and Logan's interactions grew more frequent. There was a rhythm to the ranch, a natural flow that required cooperation, and somehow they fell into it. He would show her how to check the fences, she would ask questions about the animals, and slowly a quiet bond formed. Clara found herself looking forward to seeing him each day, to learning not just about ranch work, but about the man behind the reputation. One evening, Lily suggested they go for a short ride before dinner. Clara hesitated, worried she might not be skilled enough, but Logan was already preparing the horses. "You'll do fine," he said, giving her a reassuring nod. Clara mounted her horse, feeling both nervous and excited. As they rode across the open field, the wind whipping through her hair, Clara felt free in a way she never had in the city. The beauty of the land, the strength of the animals, and the calm presence of Logan made her heart feel alive. After the ride, they stopped at the edge of the property, where a small stream cut through the grass. Clara dismounted, and Logan did the same. They stood side by side, the silence between them comfortable rather than awkward. Clara felt a strange warmth in his presence, a sense of safety and excitement, all at once. "You're getting the hang of this faster than I expected," Logan said, finally breaking the silence. "Thanks," Clara replied, smiling. "It's easier with a good teacher." Logan's lips curved into a faint smile, and for a moment the air seemed to hum with something unspoken. Clara didn't know what it was, and she wasn't sure she wanted to define it. All she knew was that she felt a pull toward him, a curiosity she couldn't ignore. As night fell, the ranch took on a different kind of beauty. The stars stretched across the sky like diamonds, and the cool air carried the scent of earth and animals. Clara returned to the main house, her mind buzzing with everything she had experienced that day. She thought about Logan, not in a way that frightened her, but in a way that made her heart race. There was something about him, something strong yet gentle, that she couldn't quite understand. That night, as she lay in bed, Clara realized that this summer would be unlike any she had ever experienced. The ranch, the animals, the land, they were all part of something bigger, something that could change her in ways she had never imagined. And then there was Logan. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of anticipation and excitement that made her stomach flutter. Little did she know, that very night, the course of her summer, and perhaps her life, would take a turn she could never have expected. One unexpected event on the ranch would bring her and Logan closer in ways neither of them could have imagined, setting the stage for a series of moments that would change both of their lives forever. The night air was cool and crisp, carrying the scents of hay, grass, and the faint smell of smoke from the distant fire pit. Clara had just finished helping Lily tidy up the kitchen after a light dinner. and the quiet of the ranch made her feel both calm and restless. She had grown accustomed to the steady rhythm of life here, the routine of caring for animals, helping with chores, and wandering through the fields. Yet, there was an energy in the air tonight, one that made her pulse quicken in ways she didn't fully understand. Logan had been unusually quiet during dinner, observing Clara with a calm, unreadable expression. She felt self-conscious under his gaze, though he hadn't said anything that would make her nervous. There was just something about the way he looked at her, attentive, thoughtful, and slightly intense, that made her heart beat faster. She tried to brush it off as imagination, but deep down she knew it wasn't. After clearing the dishes, Lily suggested they all step outside for a bit. The evening sky had darkened, and the stars sparkled like tiny lanterns scattered across black velvet. A soft breeze rustled through the trees, and the distant sound of a cow lowing added a natural rhythm to the night. Clara wrapped her sweater tighter around her shoulders and followed Lily toward the porch, where Logan was leaning against the railing, his hands resting casually on the wood. "Beautiful night," Logan said simply, his voice low and steady. He didn't need to embellish. The silence of the ranch spoke for itself. Clara nodded, trying to appear nonchalant. "Yes, it's peaceful." Logan's eyes studied her for a moment, as if weighing her words. "It can also be dangerous if you're not careful." "Dangerous?" Clara echoed, raising an eyebrow. He pointed toward the open fields. "There's beauty everywhere, but this land isn't soft. It demands respect." "You've already learned that with Daisy earlier." She smiled, remembering the incident with the horse. "I think I'm learning fast." He gave a faint, approving nod. "Good. That's what I like to hear." For a few minutes, they simply watched the sky together, standing side by side. Clara felt the warmth of his presence, a steady, grounding force that contrasted with the excitement and curiosity buzzing inside her. She wanted to say something, to keep the conversation going, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she let the silence stretch, realizing how comfortable it was to simply be near him. The night took an unexpected turn when Lily suggested a walk to the creek at the far edge of the property. Clara hesitated. The distance was longer than she had expected, and the path was uneven. But Logan stepped forward immediately. "I'll go with you. It's safer that way." Clara felt a flutter of gratitude. "Thanks." They walked in silence at first, the soft crunch of grass under their boots, and the occasional chirp of crickets the only sounds. As they moved deeper into the field, Clara noticed the way Logan's presence seemed to command the space around him. He walked with ease, alert to every sound, every movement. She couldn't help but admire him, not just for his physical strength, but for the quiet confidence he carried. It was different from the city men she had known, who often relied on words or charm to impress. Logan didn't need to do anything. He simply was. Halfway to the creek, Clara stumbled on a hidden rock. Logan reached out instinctively, steadying her with a firm grip. "Careful," he said, his voice gentle now. "These paths are tricky at night." "Thanks," she murmured, a little breathless, both from the stumble and the closeness. Their hands lingered for a moment longer than necessary, and Clara felt heat rush to her cheeks. She quickly looked away, pretending to be fascinated by the moonlight reflecting on the grass. When they reached the creek, the water flowed quietly, reflecting the stars above. The sound was soothing, almost hypnotic. Logan leaned against a large rock, and Clara found herself sitting nearby, unsure of what to say. The night felt alive, yet intimate, and she felt a sense of anticipation she had never felt before.
"You like it here," Logan said suddenly, breaking the silence.
Clara nodded. I do.
It's so different from the city. Quiet, but alive in its own way.
He studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. The land teaches you things. Patience, respect, even courage. You seem to be learning fast. Clara smiled. I think it's easier when you have a good teacher. She caught herself, realizing she had said it aloud. Her eyes met his, and for the first time she noticed a softness in his gaze, a faint warmth that made her stomach flutter. Logan didn't respond immediately. He simply nodded, then looked at the creek, his thoughts unreadable. Clara felt a strange mix of anticipation and nervousness. She wanted to know what he was thinking, but something told her that some things weren't meant to be spoken aloud just yet. The quiet was broken by a sudden movement in the bushes. A small deer had wandered close to the water's edge, and it froze when it saw them. Clara gasped softly at the sight, and Logan's hand moved instinctively to her back, guiding her gently to stay calm. The deer lingered for a moment, then bounded away into the night. Clara's heart was racing, not just from the unexpected encounter, but from the protective energy she felt from Logan. You're braver than I thought, Logan said after a moment, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Clara laughed softly, feeling more at ease. I just didn't want to scare it. He nodded, eyes twinkling with amusement. And yet, you stayed calm. That counts for a lot out here. For the next hour, they walked along the creek, talking quietly about everything from the stars to life on the ranch. Clara was surprised at how easy it was to speak with him. He asked questions that showed he genuinely wanted to know her thoughts, her opinions, and her feelings. There was no judgment, no pretense, just conversation that felt honest and grounding. At one point, Logan stopped and turned to face her. I know this might seem sudden, but I like having you around. You bring a kind of energy I didn't expect. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure what to say. I like being here too. It's different, but good different. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that reached his eyes. Good. That's all I need to know. As they walked back to the ranch, Clara felt a strange mixture of emotions. Excitement, curiosity, and a nervous flutter she hadn't felt in a long time. There was something about Logan that drew her in, something beyond appearances or charm. He was strong, confident, and capable, yes, but he also seemed to see her, really see her, in a way few people ever had. When they returned, Lily had prepared a small bonfire in the yard. The warm glow of the fire lit up their faces as they gathered around it, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories. Clara noticed how Logan interacted with everyone. Calm, respectful, yet always present. He had a way of making people feel safe and valued, and Clara couldn't help but admire him even more. As the night wore on, the group gradually dispersed, leaving Clara and Logan alone by the fire. The quiet of the ranch at night felt different now, more intimate, more charged. Clara felt a nervous excitement as she looked at him. He seemed to notice, because he shifted slightly closer, though still careful to respect the space between them. You handled today well, Logan said quietly, almost to himself. Clara looked at him, puzzled. I did? Yes. You stayed calm, worked hard, and learned quickly. That's not easy. Clara smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. I guess I'm learning from the best. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The fire crackled, the night stretched on, and Clara realized that something had changed. The bond between them, subtle yet undeniable, had deepened over the course of the evening. She felt drawn to him in ways she couldn't explain, and she sensed that he felt the same. As she finally rose to head back to her room, Logan offered a hand, not touching, but guiding her safely over the uneven ground. "Be careful," he said, his voice softer than before. "Night can be tricky out here." Clara nodded, feeling a flutter of something she couldn't name. "I will." "Thanks, Logan." He watched her until she disappeared into the house, the quiet of the ranch settling around him again. Both of them knew that the night had shifted something between them, something unspoken yet powerful. Clara's heart was full of questions, anticipation, and a longing she didn't fully understand. Logan, too, felt a pull he hadn't expected, a desire to protect and understand the young woman who had arrived in his life, and already made it more complicated and meaningful. That night, as Clara lay in bed, she replayed every moment of the evening in her mind. The walk along the creek, the small gestures, the unspoken connection. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, knowing that her summer on the ranch would not be ordinary. And somewhere deep inside, she sensed that Logan was about to become an important part of her life, in ways she could not yet imagine. The morning sunlight poured through the wide windows of the ranch house, casting golden streaks across the wooden floor. Clara woke with a sense of anticipation she couldn't shake. The previous night had left her restless, her mind replaying every moment. The quiet walk along the creek, the soft crackle of the fire, and the subtle glances she and Logan had exchanged. She had never felt such a mixture of excitement and nervousness in her life. Downstairs, the smell of fresh coffee and warm bread greeted her. Lily was already bustling around the kitchen, humming softly, and she looked up with a teasing smile as Clara entered. "Sleep well, you look distracted." Clara blushed, unsure how much to admit. "I guess I'm just adjusting," she said quickly. Lily laughed softly.
You'll get used to it, but keep your wits about you.
Logan's been keeping an eye on you, too.
Well, let's just say he notices everything." Clara froze slightly, the heat rising in her cheeks.
He notices everything? Lily nodded, as if confirming an unspoken truth. Yes, don't take it the wrong way, but he's not used to people who surprise him.
"You've done that, whether you realize it or not." Clara tried to brush it off, but the thought lingered in her mind. Was Logan aware of how she felt? Could he possibly feel the same pull she did? The questions gnawed at her as she finished breakfast, trying to focus on the day ahead. The ranch was busier than usual that morning. A storm had been predicted for the evening, and Logan was preparing the land and animals to withstand the coming weather. Clara joined him and Lily as they checked fences, secured the barn doors, and moved supplies closer to the house. The work was physically demanding, but Clara found herself energized rather than exhausted. Every movement, every chore felt more purposeful when Logan was near, guiding her with patient instructions and subtle encouragement. "You're improving fast," Logan said, as Clara tightened a loose fence post. "I've seen people struggle with this for weeks. You're getting it on your first attempt." Clara smiled, wiping sweat from her brow. "I guess I've had a good teacher." Logan's lips curved into a faint smile. "I don't usually hand out compliments so easily. Consider it earned." The praise made her heart flutter, and for a moment Clara felt a rush of warmth. She tried to focus on her task, but her thoughts kept drifting to him. There was something about Logan, his quiet strength, his calm presence, his way of making even the hardest work feel manageable, that drew her in. She had never met anyone like him before. By mid-afternoon, the first signs of the storm began to appear. Dark clouds rolling across the horizon, a steady wind rustling the trees. Logan's demeanor shifted slightly. The easy confidence of the morning gave way to a focused intensity. He moved quickly, checking on the livestock and ensuring everything was secure. Clara followed, determined to help in any way she could. "Be careful near the edge," Logan warned as they approached the cattle field. The wind was picking up and the grass was slick from the morning dew. "I will," Clara replied, gripping the fence for support. Despite her caution, one of the younger cows panicked, startled by the sudden gust of wind. It bolted toward the far gate, and Clara froze, unsure how to stop it. Before she could react, Logan was at her side, guiding her through the process of calming the animal. His movements were precise, confident, and protective, and Clara couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration and something deeper, something she didn't yet fully understand. "See? You've got this," Logan said, as the cow finally settled. "You just needed to stay calm and act with purpose." Clara nodded, her heart still racing. "Thanks for helping." He glanced at her, his eyes lingering a moment longer than necessary, always. As the day wore on, the storm grew stronger, with flashes of lightning illuminating the darkening sky. Clara and Logan continued to work side by side, moving feed, securing gates, and checking on the animals. The intensity of the storm, combined with the physical demands of the work, created a sense of urgency that left little room for hesitation or doubt. Clara found herself relying on Logan not just for guidance, but for reassurance. During a brief pause, Clara stood under the overhang of the barn, catching her breath and watching the wind whip through the trees. Logan approached, holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa. "Here," he said, handing her one. "You need to keep warm." Clara accepted it, feeling the warmth spread through her fingers and up to her chest. "Thanks," she said softly. They stood in silence for a few moments, the storm raging around them but somehow feeling distant in the bubble of shared space. Clara couldn't ignore the intensity in Logan's eyes as he looked at her, the way he seemed to notice every detail, every small movement. She felt a flutter in her stomach, a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. "Clara," Logan said finally, his voice steady but low, "I need to ask you something." Her heart skipped a beat. "Yes?" "I don't usually do this," he admitted, glancing at her briefly before looking away. "But you've been here only a few days, and yet I feel something different around you. I can't explain it fully, but I need you to know that I notice you, more than anyone else." Clara felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of relief and excitement. She had been wondering if he felt the same connection she did, and now he was confirming it, even if only in part. I notice you too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The intensity of the moment was interrupted by a sudden, loud crash of thunder, shaking the barn. Clara jumped slightly, and Logan immediately moved closer, steadying her. "It's okay," he said, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "I've got you." Clara felt a thrill of emotion, safety, excitement, and something more she couldn't yet name. The storm outside mirrored the storm of feelings inside her, and she realized that the connection between her and Logan was growing stronger with each passing moment. As the storm raged on, they continued to secure the ranch, moving through the wind and rain with practiced efficiency. The shared challenge brought them even closer, their interactions charged with unspoken understanding and mutual respect. Clara felt a sense of belonging she had never known before, a feeling that Logan's presence amplified. Later, when the worst of the storm had passed, they returned to the main house, drenched and exhausted but satisfied. Clara changed into dry clothes while Logan checked the animals one last time. When she returned to the living room, she found him sitting quietly by the fire, drying his hands on a towel. "You handled yourself well today," he said without looking up. Clara smiled, feeling a sense of pride. "We handled it together." He finally met her gaze, and the intensity of his eyes made her heart race. "Yes, together," he agreed, his tone softening. There was something in the way he said it that made Clara's pulse quicken, a promise unspoken but deeply felt. The rest of the evening passed quietly. They shared a simple meal, laughing softly at small stories Lily told, but the tension and unspoken connection between Clara and Logan lingered, electric and palpable. Each glance, each subtle movement carried meaning, and both of them felt the pull but did not yet act on it. Later, when Clara finally retired to her room, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of the day, the storm, the work, the small moments of intimacy. All of it had stirred emotions she hadn't expected. She realized that her feelings for Logan were no longer simple curiosity or admiration. She wanted to be near him, to understand him, to be part of the life he led on the ranch. And deep down, she suspected that he might feel the same, though neither of them had yet spoken the words that would change everything. Outside, the ranch was calm once more. The storm had passed, leaving the fields glistening in the moonlight, and the sound of water dripping from the roof echoed softly in the night. Logan sat by the porch, staring into the distance, thinking about Clara and the unexpected connection that had grown between them. He knew that what they were feeling went beyond friendship, yet he was cautious, aware that actions had consequences. Still, he could not deny the pull he felt toward her, a mixture of respect, curiosity, and something deeper he had not experienced before. As sleep finally claimed her, Clara dreamed of the ranch, the storm and Logan's steady presence. She didn't know what the next day would bring, but she felt certain that her summer on the ranch was about to take a turn she had never imagined. Something important was building between them, a force neither could ignore, and both knew that the events of this day would mark a turning point in their lives, one that could not be undone. The morning after the storm, the ranch was quiet but buzzing with activity. The air smelled fresh and earthy, with the scent of wet grass and mud still lingering from the night's rain. Clara woke early, excitement and nervousness fluttering in her chest. She knew today would be different. The storm had brought them closer, and now there was a new energy between her and Logan, an unspoken understanding that something important was shifting. Downstairs, she found Lily already preparing breakfast. "Good morning," Lily said cheerfully, setting plates on the table. "I hope you slept well. Logan's already out checking the fences again. He seems unusually focused today." Clara poured herself a cup of tea, trying to steady her nerves. "Focused?" she asked, curious. Lily nodded, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "Yes, that storm seemed to wake something in him. Pay attention today. It might be a day you'll remember." Clara smiled nervously, unsure what Lily meant. But she didn't have long to think. As soon as she finished breakfast, Logan appeared at the doorway, calling her name. His expression was serious, but there was a softness in his eyes that made her pulse quicken.
"We need to check the north pasture," he said, his tone calm but firm.
"Some of the fences might have weakened in the storm, and the livestock could wander if we don't secure them." Clara nodded, following him out into the crisp morning air. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The beauty of the landscape was breathtaking, but Clara barely noticed it. Her focus was entirely on Logan, on the way he moved with confidence, on the ease with which he handled the work, and on the quiet authority that seemed to radiate from him. The north pasture was larger than Clara had imagined, and the wind that remained from the storm made the work harder. They moved quickly, repairing fences, guiding the livestock, and checking for any signs of danger. Clara struggled with a heavy gate that had shifted during the storm, and Logan rushed to help her.
Here, he said, placing his hands over hers.
We can do this together. Their fingers brushed as they pushed the gate into place. Clara felt a shiver run down her spine. She tried to focus on the task, but her thoughts kept drifting to him, to the closeness of his presence and the warmth of his hands. He noticed her distraction, giving her a small, knowing smile. But he didn't speak. He simply continued working, letting the moment linger without breaking it. As they finished securing the last section of the fence, a sudden loud noise startled the livestock. A young calf had wandered too close to the edge of a small ravine, and it teetered dangerously on the slope. Clara gasped, frozen in fear. Logan's voice cut through the chaos, calm but commanding. "Clara! Step back and stay still. Watch what I do." Before she could respond, Logan moved quickly, positioning himself between the calf and the drop. He guided it carefully back toward safer ground, his movements precise and controlled. Clara watched in awe, her heart pounding, not just from worry for the calf, but from the intensity of the moment. Once the calf was safe, Logan turned to her, his chest rising and falling from exertion. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. Clara nodded, her legs trembling slightly. I think so." He stepped closer, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "You were brave," he said softly. "Most people would have panicked, but you stayed calm and followed instructions. That counts for a lot out here." Clara felt her cheeks warm, her heart racing. She looked up at him, feeling the weight of his gaze. I just didn't want to see it get hurt." Logan's expression softened, and for a moment they simply stood there, the storm's aftermath around them, the pasture silent except for the gentle rustling of leaves. Clara felt a connection with him stronger than ever before, a mixture of admiration, respect, and something deeper she couldn't yet name. They returned to the house later, exhausted but satisfied. The ranch had survived the storm, and the animals were safe, thanks in large part to their efforts. But the day was far from over. Logan suggested they take a short break before continuing with other chores, and Clara followed him to the porch. They sat in silence for a few moments, watching the sun climb higher, the wet fields sparkling in its light. "You handled today well," Logan said quietly, his voice almost a whisper. Clara looked at him, unsure what to say. "We handled it together," she replied softly. He nodded, eyes meeting hers. There was a seriousness there that made her heart race, and she realized that today, something between them could no longer remain unspoken. "Clara," he said, his tone deliberate, "I've been trying to understand my feelings since you arrived. This connection between us, it's more than I expected. I can't ignore it anymore." Clara's heart skipped a beat. She had felt the same pull, the same growing bond, but hearing him say it aloud made it real. "I feel the same," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. The moment hung between them, fragile and intense. The air seemed to hum with anticipation, the quiet of the ranch amplifying every heartbeat. Clara wanted to move closer, to reach out, but she hesitated, unsure of how Logan would respond. Logan's hand brushed lightly against hers, a small, tentative touch that sent a thrill through her. "I don't want to rush anything," he said, "but I need you to know how I feel." "I care about you, Clara, more than I thought possible." Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she smiled, feeling a warmth that spread through her chest. "I care about you too," she whispered. They stayed on the porch for a while, simply holding hands and sharing the quiet intimacy of the moment. It was as if the storm, the work, and the challenges of the day had brought them to this point, a turning point where their feelings could no longer be ignored. Clara felt safe, exhilarated, and deeply connected to Logan in a way she had never imagined. As the day continued, they worked together on smaller tasks, their movements synchronized almost naturally. Every glance, every smile, every touch carried meaning, deepening the bond that had grown between them. Clara realized that her longing for Logan was no longer simple attraction. It was a desire to be close to him, to understand him, and to be part of the life he led on the ranch. Later, when they took a break near the barn, Logan pulled a chair close to hers and leaned back, studying her thoughtfully. "I've lived here all my life," he said quietly. "I've known hard work, responsibility, and the weight of this land. But having you here, seeing you adapt, seeing you care, it's changed something in me. I don't want this summer to end without knowing what we could mean." Clara's heart raced. "I don't either," she admitted. "I've never felt this way before, but I know that I want to be here, with you as part of this life." A small smile tugged at his lips, and he reached for her hand again. "Then we'll figure it out. Together. No rushing, no pressure. Just together." As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the ranch, Clara and Logan sat in quiet companionship, the world around them fading into the background. The challenges of the day had tested them, brought out courage, patience, and understanding, and now, in the calm after the storm, they had found something far more precious, a connection that neither could deny, a bond that promised something deeper than either had expected. That evening, as Clara returned to her room, she felt a sense of peace and anticipation. The summer on the ranch had changed her in ways she couldn't have imagined. Logan's presence, his steady support, and the undeniable connection they shared had transformed her world. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing with certainty: her heart was no longer hers alone. And somewhere across the quiet ranch, Logan felt the same. He sat on the porch long after Clara had gone inside, staring at the stars, thinking about the bond they had forged, the unspoken promises, and the possibilities that lay ahead. He had always been in control of his life, his land, and his responsibilities, but Clara had introduced a new element, one that challenged him, excited him, and stirred feelings he had never allowed himself to feel before. The night settled over the ranch, peaceful and calm, but inside both Clara and Logan, emotions churned like a quiet storm, intense, profound, and impossible to ignore. They both knew that what had begun today could not be undone. The turning point had arrived, and with it came the promise of love, trust, and a shared journey neither of them had anticipated, but both were ready to embrace. The days after the storm were calm but filled with purpose. The ranch seemed to breathe a little easier now that the worst of the weather had passed. Clara woke early, as she had grown accustomed to doing, but there was a new lightness in her step. The events of the previous days, the moments shared with Logan, and the bond that had grown between them made her heart feel full in a way she had never experienced before. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled of fresh bread and coffee. Lily was humming softly while setting the table, glancing up at Clara with a knowing smile. "Good morning," she said. "I hope you're ready for another busy day on the ranch." Clara smiled, feeling a sense of determination. "I'm ready," she said, "and I think I'm ready for anything, as long as Logan's around." Lily raised an eyebrow but said nothing, only giving her a teasing smile. Clara laughed softly and hurried to finish breakfast, eager to start the day. Outside, the ranch stretched in every direction, bathed in the soft morning sunlight. Logan was already in the field, checking fences and inspecting the livestock. When he saw Clara approaching, he offered a small nod, his expression calm but warm. There was a quiet understanding between them now, something unspoken yet undeniable, and Clara felt a flutter of anticipation. "Good morning," she called softly. "Morning," he replied, his tone steady. "Ready to check the south pasture?" Clara nodded, and together they walked toward the fields, their movements synchronized in a way that felt natural. The past few days had created a rhythm between them, a sense of teamwork that extended beyond chores and responsibilities. They worked side by side, securing gates, checking fences, and guiding the livestock, all the while sharing quiet conversation and subtle glances that spoke volumes. At one point, Clara stumbled on a patch of wet grass. Logan was immediately there, steadying her with a firm but gentle grip. "Careful," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "You've done well, but the ground is still slick from the rain." "I'm fine," Clara said, though her heart was still racing from the close contact. "Thanks." He nodded, his gaze lingering on her for a moment longer than usual. Clara felt warmth spreading through her chest. She had never experienced such a connection, a mixture of admiration, trust, and affection, all wrapped into a single presence. As the morning passed, they continued their work, moving toward the smaller, more remote pastures. The sun climbed higher, warming their backs and making the sweat on their brows glisten. Clara was tired, but it was a satisfying fatigue, the kind that comes from physical work, shared effort, and the sense that they were accomplishing something important together. Logan paused near a small grove of trees, surveying the area. "Everything looks secure here," he said. "The livestock are safe, the fences are strong. We've done well today." Clara smiled, feeling proud. "It's amazing how much we can get done when we work together." He looked at her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Yes, together," he agreed. For a moment they stood in silence, the soft sounds of the ranch surrounding them, the rustle of leaves, the distant lowing of cattle, the occasional bird calling from the trees. Clara felt a sense of peace, knowing that she belonged here, that she had a place in this world where she was valued and respected. And at the center of it all was Logan, the man who had become more than just a presence in her life. He had become someone she trusted, admired, and cared for deeply. As the day drew to a close, they returned to the main house, tired but satisfied. Lily had prepared a simple dinner, and the three of them sat together, laughing and sharing stories of the day's work. Clara noticed Logan watching her from time to time, his gaze filled with something she couldn't quite name: pride, affection, and perhaps something deeper. After dinner, Logan suggested they take a short walk through the fields before nightfall. Clara agreed eagerly. They moved slowly through the golden grass, the setting sun casting long shadows and bathing the landscape in warm light. There was a quiet intimacy in the walk, a shared understanding that words could not fully express. At the edge of the largest field, they stopped to admire the view. The ranch stretched endlessly before them, a patchwork of fields, fences, and grazing animals. Clara felt a sense of awe, not just at the beauty of the land, but at the life she had become a part of. The hard work, the challenges, and the simple joys that came with it. Logan turned to her, his expression serious but gentle. "Clara," he said softly, "these past few days, the storm, the work, the time we've spent together, it's shown me something important. I don't want to lose this connection we have. I don't want it to fade when the summer ends." Clara felt her heart leap. "I feel the same way," she admitted. "I've never felt this connected to someone before. I want to be here with you as part of this life." Logan reached for her hand, holding it gently but firmly. "Then let's not let anything come between us," he said. "We'll face this together, just like we've faced everything else." Clara nodded, tears of happiness prickling at the corners of her eyes. "Together," she whispered. They stood there for a while, holding hands and enjoying the quiet beauty of the ranch. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink, orange, and purple. The world seemed to pause around them, as if acknowledging the bond that had grown between them. That evening, back at the house, they sat by the fireplace, the warmth of the fire mirroring the warmth in their hearts. Clara felt a sense of contentment she had never known. The challenges of the past days, the storms and the hard work had all led them to this point, a place where trust, respect, and love had flourished. Logan spoke softly, almost to himself. "You've changed my life, Clara. You've brought a kind of light and energy I didn't know I was missing."
I don't want this to end. I want you to be here, always.
Clara smiled, her eyes shining. "I want that too. I've never felt more at home than I do here, with you." The days that followed were filled with small joys and shared moments. They worked together on the ranch, laughed over simple mistakes, and celebrated small victories. Each day deepened their connection, their bond growing stronger with every shared glance, every gentle touch, and every word spoken with care and honesty. One morning, as they watched the sun rise over the fields, Logan turned to Clara. "I know this might seem sudden," he said, "but I want to ask you something important. I want you to be more than just here for the summer. I want you to be part of my life. Permanently. Clara, will you be my wife?" Clara felt tears of joy welling in her eyes. She had dreamed of this, hoped for this, but hearing it spoken aloud made her heart soar. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with happiness. "Yes, I will." Logan pulled her into a gentle embrace, holding her close as the sun rose higher in the sky, bathing them in golden light. In that moment, the ranch, the land, and all the challenges they had faced seemed to fade away. All that mattered was the bond they had forged, a love that had grown through shared effort, trust, and understanding. The summer continued, filled with laughter, work, and quiet moments of happiness. Clara and Logan planned for the future together, discussing the life they would build on the ranch, the dreams they wanted to pursue, and the family they hoped to create. Each day brought new challenges, but they faced them together, their bond stronger than ever. By the time the first hints of autumn appeared, the ranch had taken on a new sense of vibrancy and life. Clara had become fully immersed in the work, learning the rhythms of the land and finding fulfillment in each task. Logan continued to guide her, but now as a partner rather than a teacher, sharing responsibility and trust equally. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset over the fields, Clara leaned against Logan's shoulder, feeling the steady warmth of his presence.